There was the age of faith. The mission was the creation of a justice society. Enjoying what is noble, forbidding what is evil and believing in Allah. Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan changed this process. Upon the advice of Mughira bin Shobha, he nominated his eldest son Yazid as his successor. Muawiyah had wasted no time in extending his hold on the territories formerly held by Ali ibn Abu Talib alayhi salam and Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam. Iraq was in the juggernaut of Muawiyah's police force, so the Iraqis had no choice but to accept the imposition of Yazid. The province of Hijaz, which is a part of Saudi Arabia today and includes the cities of Mecca and Medina, was another matter. According to Tabari and Ibn Asir, Muawiyah openly threatened to use force if his proposition of allegiance to Yazid was not agreed to. Muawiyah died in 680 CE at the age of 78 and Yazid ascended the Umayyad throne. One of the first acts of Yazid was to order the governor of Medina, Walid bin Utbah, to force an oath of allegiance from Abdullah bin Zubair and Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. Now going back to Kufa. Kufa had been the capital during the caliphate of Ali ibn Abu Talib alayhi salam, and members of Shi'an-e-Ali were numerous in Iraq. Hussein ibn Ali received insistent letters from the notables of Kufa inviting him to Iraq and to accept their allegiance to him as the caliph. As a first step, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam sent his cousin Muslim bin Aqil on a fact-finding mission. Muslim bin Aqil arrived in Kufa and set up residence in the house of a well-wisher, Hani. The supporters of Imam Hussein alayhi salam thronged this residence, so Muslims sent word to Imam Hussein alayhi salam encouraging him to migrate to Kufa. Meanwhile, Yazid dispatched Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, commonly known as Ibn Ziyad, the butcher of Karbala, to apprehend Muslim bin Aqil and stop the incipient uprising. Ibn Ziyad arrived in Iraq and promptly declared that those who would support Yazid would be rewarded and those who opposed him would have their heads cut off. Greed and fear of reprisals did their trick. The Kufans made an about-turn and abandoned Muslim. He was attacked and executed by forces of Ibn Ziyad. Before his death, Muslims sent word to Hussein that the situation in Kufa had changed and that he should abandon the idea of migrating there. By this time, Ibn Ziyad's forces had cut the communications of Hussein's supporters. So the second message from Muslim never reached to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Unaware of the ground situation in Kufa, Imam Hussein alayhi salam started his move from Mecca to Kufa in 680 with his family and companions. He was a prince of faith and was impelled by a higher vision. On the way, news arrived that Muslim bin Aqil alayhi salam had been killed. According to Ibn Kathir, undaunted, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam moved forward and was stopped by a regiment of troops under Amr bin Sa'ad at Karbala on the banks of the river Euphrates. A standoff ensued. Negotiations took place and Amr bin Sa'ad communicated this to Ibn Ziyad in Kufa. But Ibn Ziyad would accept nothing short of capitulation and Imam Hussein alayhi salam explicit bay'ah, oath of allegiance, to Yazid. Sensing that Amr bin Sa'ad was reluctant to commence hostilities against the Prophet's family, Ibn Ziyad recalled him and replaced him with Shim Zil-Johan. Shim, a man without moral compunctions, surrounded the Husseini camp and cut off the supply of water. The final confrontation came on the 10th of Muharram. Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the soldier of God, who had drunk from the lips of the Prophet, and was heir to the heavenly secrets from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Arranged his 72 men in battle formation, advanced and met the forces of darkness. By the afternoon, 70 brave persons had sacrificed their lives in Karbala to save Islam. All had fought under nerve-wracking conditions, severe thirst, dehydration, exhaustion, an agonizing feeling of what would happen to the family of the Prophet, peace be upon him, afterwards. Imam Hussain alayhi salam endured all that and more, for he saw all his beloved ones brutally cut to pieces, remaining the only one. Imam Hussain alayhi salam was to face the enemy head-on. Precisely at that moment, Imam Hussain heard his baby Asghar alayhi salam crying incessantly, agonizing because of the thirst. Imam Hussain alayhi salam love for his family was unbound, especially for a suffering baby. He held the 6 months old baby, his youngest son, Ali Asghar, in his arms, and appealed to the enemy fighters for some water for the baby. Imam wanted to awaken their conscience and stir their human feelings, but the stone-hearted enemy, instead of giving water, zoomed an arrow toward the agonizing baby and killed him instantly. Imam Hussain was shocked. He felt an unbearable wave of pain. The sight of the limp baby in his arms was agonizingly painful. He filled his palm with the blood of the baby and threw it upwards toward the sky, and said, "O Allah, O my Lord, my consolation is the fact that Thou in Thy Majesty are witnessing what I am going through." After the brutal martyrdom of the 70 men and the baby Ali Asghar alayhi salam was cut down, and at last the grandson of the Prophet also fell. Imam's head was cut off and sent to Kufa, where Ibn Ziyad mistreated it in the most abominable manner and paraded it through the streets. The ladies and surviving children in Imam Hussain alayhi salam entourage suffered enormous hardships. Great tragedies throw up great personages. It was at this juncture in history that the leadership of Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam shone through. She consoled the survivors, saved the life of Imam Zain ul Abidin ibn Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and proved to be the fortress guarding the dignity of Imam Hussain alayhi salam household. The ladies and the children were first taken to Damascus and were then escorted back to Medina by some well-wishers. It was the year 680 CE. Hussein's martyrdom provided Islam with a paradigm for selfless struggle and sacrifice. For hundreds of years, generations would rise, invoking the name of Hussain ibn Ali, to uphold justice and to fight against tyranny. For some Muslims, it was a defining moment in Islamic history. Imam Hussain alayhi salam stood for faith and principle in the face of tyranny and coercion. Just because of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, faith held its head high against the sharpness of the tyrant's blade. Imam Hussain alayhi salam was the embodiment of the Quranic teaching that humankind is born into freedom and is to bow only before the Divine Majesty. The martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salam is in reality the death of Yazid. Islam came alive after every Karbala. Karbala stands out as an historical benchmark, a hinge around which the history of Islamic civilization revolves. The truth is that the privilege that we have today of reciting the Kalma La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is because of the Shahada of Imam Hussain alayhi salam at Karbala. Now the main part of this video is that The tragedy of Karbala taught humanity a lesson that standing for the truth and fighting unto death for it is more honorable and valuable than submitting to the wrongful, especially when the survival of Islam is at stake. On the other hand, Yazid never achieved what he and his father had planned to achieve, for within 3 years, Allah's wrath fell upon him, causing him to die at the age of 33 years. And within a few decades the rule of Bani Umayyah crumbled and came to an end. Like and subscribe for more updates.